What's going on? So today we're going to be doing something a little bit different with a little bit different car. We're going to change the rotors and brakes on this car. To change the brakes, you're going to need a couple things. Brake cleaner, some copper anti-seize, some silicone paste, and some thread locker. So thread locker blue. All this stuff you can find in the link down below. For this, you're going to need a toolkit. You don't need this whole setup, but this is nice for future if you want to change your brakes in the future to compress the brake calipers. And then with that, we're going to change the rotors, change the brakes on this 2007 Mustang. There's two, a large one and a small one for the rears and for the fronts. We're going to need to jack the car up, so first we're going to put down these to make sure the car doesn't roll away, and one on this side. Before we take the wheels, actually jack the wheels up, we want to loosen them. We're going to jack the car up from the middle of the car basically. So jacked up on this side, and jacked up on this side. Make sure to put it in the jack points so you can read in the manual where it's supposed to go. Put it in places where the metal's really weak, so it will bend and you'll mess up your frame. Or poke holes, you don't want that. So now we are going to take off the wheel and get access to the rotors and brakes. First, let's take the wheel off. Now we're going to turn the wheel so that the caliper points toward us. For these brakes, you're going to take off two bolts here and here first. Because the bolts have been sitting here for a little bit, they're a little rusted in, so it's going to need a little bit extra help. So a breaker bar would be nice if I had one, but I don't have one. So what we're going to do is using a mallet. We're going to use the mallet to loosen up the screw. Once the screws are off, we're going to pull it straight back, pressing a little bit helps. You want to make sure that the caliper is not dangling because this brake line will get messed up, so make sure you fix it up there. We pulled off the brake pads, and now we're going to pull off the rest of the caliper. This is the breaker bar. I'm going to place that on the 15mm. Pull the caliper off, and then we pull off the disc brake. Sometimes it's stuck, so just kind of what you're gonna do is just hit it with a mallet until it comes loose. And then, but this one's actually pretty loose, so there it comes off. We need to clean the rotors because they're by factory. There's some oils and stuff left on, so we're gonna spray it with brake cleaner and then clean it off. From there, we put the rotor on. Like so, and then for now we're going to use the lug nuts to hold it in place. One here and then one down here. Cool. Now we go back to our trusty cardboard and we're going to do some cleaning of the brake caliper. So there's a brake caliper. There's some guide pins that have silicone. These ones are old and they're actually really dirty or dry, which they need to be kind of wet and lubricated. This one's getting dry, so we're going to actually clean it. And from there, we're going to re-lube them with silicone lubricant. Wipe them down. Then we're going to spray them with brake cleaner. While we're at it, we're going to spray the caliper too to clean it off. Just simple clean, not really like trying to get all of it off, just the big particles, and then in here trying to get some of this off, clean it up. If you can, you probably want to actually find replacements for these, but since I don't have them, we're gonna just do with what we have, try to get as much of it off as possible right now, and then we're gonna reuse them. There's basically little clips in there that guide the pads. Now we're going to get our silicone paste, and we're gonna take this and generously put some silicone on here. just like so. There's one, and there's two. Just gonna spread it around evenly so that the whole pin gets covered in silicone paste. So now we put the rubber pieces back on. They kind of pop back on. They snap in easily like that. There's one, and this one snaps right back in. Twist it in, and then push it, and then it pops back in. And kind of test it out, pump it, make sure it glides well. If not, then you have to clean the inside, try to pull out any crap, but right now it looks pretty good. So those are the guide pins for the caliper. We're gonna put back is these screws. Screws have thread lock on them, so we're gonna put some thread lock here, and then we're gonna put the screws back in. From here we're going to prep the calipers by adding copper anti-seize, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, anti-seize brake lube. So basically it's going to lube up the calipers, and the calipers are going to run smoothly so they don't squeak. Basically it helps not squeaking, and it helps it run smoothly and guide properly. So some on the back here. Do that for both the calipers. And then you're gonna put a little bit of anti-seize in the guides down here. Be careful not to get any on the disc brake, because that's basically so that it doesn't seize and it glides. You want to stop. So if you do get any on it on the disc brakes, just remove them or wipe it down. So I got a little bit there. Wipe it off. Now we're gonna take the brake pads and then place them in, so they they slide right in. Fairly simple. You only can go really one way, so make sure that there's no anti-seize on the front of the pad that touches the rotor. We're just gonna place this in there, and it just kind of pops right in. There goes one, and there goes two. Once those are in, now we're going to put the rest of the caliper back on. We have to compress the caliper so that we can fit it into this space. And unfortunately, that's the hardest part. To do this, we're gonna have to compress the caliper inward. So to do this, we have a tool. For the front is pretty straightforward. It has a plate and another plate, and it's just gonna separate, it's gonna push. What we're gonna use is the old brake pad as like a plate in between. So basically you're placing the old brake pad in there, and then we're going to put our caliper tool. Now we're going to guide it right back in. There it is, all the way back in. Now we're going to put the two screws that hold the caliper back in. Make sure to tighten everything up. Now we're done. And we placed the rotors and the pads, and we're good. Now let's put the wheel back on, and then one last step before we can drive. I'm going to tighten the lugs down to 90 foot-pounds of torque. I'm going to repeat this process for all four wheels. The back wheels are slightly different than the front, but generally this is how you replace the rotors and the brake pads. And there's one last thing to do before you can drive. From here you want to press down on the brakes pretty hard, so you get to pump the brakes basically. You want to fill the brake pad, the fluid, I would say 4 or 5 times, pretty hard. In the back, hard, and then back. You just want to make sure that you're pumping the brakes until they're firm. And that's how you change your brake pads and your rotors. Now every car is going to be slightly different. Some require a little bit different tools just for the calipers. And even in this car, the front and back are slightly different, but in the general, that's how you change your rotors and your brake pads. If you like this video, smash that like button. If you want to see more videos like this, consider subscribing. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.